Hello guys, and welcome back. Today I'm going to show you a slightly updated method for getting Big Sur Wi-Fi working on your older MacBooks. This should in theory work for any MacBook that's able to boot Big Sur, but not every MacBook will have acceleration, which can make it more difficult to use. But if you want to go for it on a separate partition, go right ahead. This will very likely work, and if it doesn't, let me know and I'll take a look, see what I can do about it. So, to get started, you'll want to create a Big Sur installer through the normal method, where you want to go to your applications folder. You want to go to the Big Sur installer and you'll want to right click on it, click Show Package Contents, go to Contents, go to Resources, and you'll see the Create Install Media file. You'll want to open up your terminal. You'll want to type in sudo, drag and drop that file in, then you'll want to type in -- volume, and then you want to drag and drop the USB you want to create it on. For me, I've already created it, so I'm not going to run this command, but this is all you would have to do. I'm making it more simplified, like I'm explaining it in a more simplified way because some people were having issues creating an installer. Okay, the next thing, after you've created your installer, I will have my modified patcher. It's based on Parrot Geek's patcher. I'll have my modified patcher in the zip file that I will include in the description, and you'll just want to use that. And I'll also have Parrot Geek's patcher linked in the description for crediting purposes, but you don't have to download that. You'll have that. You'll have all of this in a zip file or something like that in my in the description. So with the current patch, I don't have too many checks going for the size of your USB drive. So if you have a 16 gigabyte or bigger, it should work. If it doesn't, let me know. I'll try my best to fix it. But what it will currently do is it'll make an extra partition. It'll resize your disk to 15 gigabytes, and it'll make an extra 100 megabyte partition called patch. This should work for any 16 gigabyte or larger, but basically what I'm going to do, if you've already ran it and you need to rerun it for whatever reason, you have to remove the patch partition because I don't have any checks for that at the current moment, and it's better to just not have any issues. There is an unpatch tool built within it for if you've ever used Parrot Geek's tool in the past. What it would do before is put the trampoline app within the trampoline app within the trampoline app, and it would go on forever. Now there's a thing that will move that out of the way if you've ever used Parrot Geek's patcher. If you haven't, it'll just go on like normally. And if you want to, you can also recreate the USB installer and just go from there. So I'm currently removing the patch partition to show you how it works. So I've removed my patch partition, and now what you're going to want to do is you're just going to want to run this file right here, and then you'll want to drag and drop your install media right there. You'll just want to hit enter, and you'll notice it patches it. It detects that I already had a patched installer, and it unpatches it, and then it runs this whole system where it's going to resize the partition and create an extra volume. Okay, now once that's done, what you'll have to do is go ahead and run a few extra commands. One of them will be to set your NVRAM to allow the system to boot into this installer, and the other will just be for the older MacBooks, but it'll all be in this one command. So what you'll want to do is you want to do sudo nvram boot-args equals quote -no compat check and amfi _ get _ out _ my _ way equals 1, and then finish the quote. Then you'll want to hit enter. You'll want to type in your password, and your boot args have now been set to allow the USB to boot. I'll continue it from the installer now. So you'll want to press the power button and hold the option key and wait for the boot menu to show up. Once the boot menu shows up, you'll want to go ahead and select the USB. Once you're here, you'll want to create an extra partition or volume depending on how you want to go about it. So I'm going to create an extra volume on my internal partition. So you'll want to go to view and hit show all devices. And on the partition where you have your current OS installed, or if you have an extra hard drive that you want to install it on, if you do, you could just make an extra partition thing there. You'll just want to add a partition or a volume, depending. And I'm just going to call this one BS for Big Sur, or, you know, whatever else you want to call it. And you'll want to, if you're doing it as a volume, you'll want to go to size options and you'll want to give it something like 60 gigabytes or more. I'll just set it to 60 gigabytes because I'll be removing this after this. So you'll want to hit add, and it makes an extra volume that is dedicated to 60 gigabytes, and you're good. So another few things you'll want to do is you'll want to open up the utilities, and you'll want to go to terminal, and you'll want to run csr util disable. Disable. And then you'll also want to run csr util authenticated root disable, and then that'll set that. Okay, once you've got that, you can hit the terminal and you can hit quit terminal. From there, you'll want to go to install macOS, and then you'll want to hit continue, agree, select the volume you just created and hit install. Phase 2, which will be at about 8 minutes remaining, you'll want to hold Command V so that you can get the verbose output of the next stage and shut down the computer at the proper spot so that it doesn't seal your APFS volume. Once it hits about 8 minutes remaining, it will go to the next phase of the install, and that's where you'll want to hold Command V. So you want to hold the Command V as such. Don't worry about any errors that occur. So this is the part right before the APFS volume seal, so you want to let this complete, but then the next thing that will pop up will be the APFS volume seal, which is where you'll want to shut the computer off. So as you can see, the APFS seal volume is now happening. So what you want to do here is you just want to hold the power button and then shut off the computer. And now what you want to do, when you click the power button, you want to hold the Alt and Option key, and you will see that the macOS installer partition is defaulted to, so you don't want to boot to that, you want to boot to your new volume, so in my case, BS, and it will reboot a few times, so you'll have to hold the Option key a few times every single time it reboots because it defaults to the macOS installer partition. So again, you want to hold the Option key, and as you can see, it again defaults you to that. You want to go back over to this. That partition will eventually disappear after a while of you using the system. So now we've gotten to the installer phase, and I'll just go through to the Wi-Fi section to show you guys that Wi-Fi is not currently working. And you guys know this already, but so as you can see, my Wi-Fi is not working, so what you want to do is you want to hold the power button, and what you actually want to do is shut down, and the next thing you'll want to do, this is a two-step process because you have to actually boot into the recovery partition of the device. So you want to hold the Option key and have your boot menu up again, and you'll want to go back to the USB drive, and you'll want to change the default boot volume to the one that you just created. Even if it's the only one, if you select it as your startup disk, it'll default to it instead of the macOS installer partition, and then you'll be able to enter the device's recovery mode, from which you can run the patch. Do not run the patch from the USB because that will not work. So once you're back in the installer, you can hit the Apple logo and hit Startup Disk. And then you want to select your new volume, even if it's your only one, select it and hit Restart. When you hit Restart, you will want to hit Command and R and hold those two buttons as such. Still holding them. You can let go once you see the Apple logo and a very slow progress bar. So now we are in the recovery partition of the actual disk that's inside your system and not on the USB drive, because you can see it says reinstall macOS instead of install macOS. So now you'll want to open up utilities and go to terminal, and what you'll want to do is you'll want to cd to /volumes /patch, and then from here you want to type in /patch.sh, and then you want to put in the volume name of the macOS volume where you installed. So /volumes, in my case, /bs. So if you have a space, you want to put a space and call it whatever. So if my volume was called BS volume, then that's what I would do. In my case, all I have to do is just put in that and hit enter. So there are a few errors that come up in the middle right over here. If these are the only errors you get, that is not a problem. Just ignore those, you're completely fine. If you get any other errors, then you might not be okay. But then you just hit restart, and this will take a little bit to boot because it's refreshing all those texts. Now we're back in the installer, and will it do it? Last time I did this, it automatically selected Canada. It did select Canada for me, there we go. So I just hit continue, not now, and boom, Wi-Fi.